Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebuttal podcast, where we break down case law, calamity, and of course, chaos in the legal field. I am once again your host, Reb Maisel, and today's episode, we are going to get weird as hell, and we are going to talk about a lawyer gone bad, lawyers doing bad, lawyers' bad behavior, lawyers who maybe shouldn't be in this field, or maybe it's a sign that they should, right? Should we have to be insane to do this job? Yes, of course. But the flavor of insane, I fear, is getting a little bit confused and tangled when shit like this that I'm about to tell you about happens, okay? For most people who know, okay, every attorney that practices law in the United States of America has to be admitted to a bar, okay? And all 50 states have a different bar. That's why there are 50 different bar exams. You're gathering amazing. There are some technicalities with it where there could be reciprocity of passing one bar and being able to be admitted to another. We're not going to go over that because who gives a shit, okay? Amazing. Google it if you care. The general rule, okay? None of the exceptions, none of the weird shit, okay? The general rule is that to be a practicing attorney in the state that you are in, you have to graduate from an undergrad college or have a bachelor's degree or some equivalent in order to get into law school. Okay, like apply there. You apply to law school, you get in, you take 3 years, okay? Typically, I'm talking about the typical example, 3 years of law school to get your Juris Doctor, your JD, and then you take the bar exam. And in order to take the bar exam, to sit for it, to put your name on it, you have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars in bar prep materials because you can't, like, there's no way to not just, you can't just like do law school and take the bar. Like, typically you have to do the bar prep shit, okay? But even if you do all of those things, even if you pass the bar exam to be admitted to the bar in the state that you are in, if you do not pass something that's called the moral character application, okay, you can't get in. The moral character application basically asks for your fingerprint, your handprint, your thumbprint, your butt print, your blood sample, your stool sample. I'm totally kidding past that certain point, but it's very much like a high level fucking background check. You have to list every single place you've ever lived in your life, every single job you've ever had, anytime you've ever even mildly been dishonest, because dishonesty is the key here, okay? You're not necessarily going to be rejected from being admitted to the bar if, for example, like you had a past DUI, if you had like, did your time, paid your fees, basically, righted the wrong, okay? Because a DUI, something, or some other even criminal record, certain things, that yes, people fuck up and make mistakes, right? Like if we had a moratorium for lawyers where, if you have a DUI, you can't be a lawyer, like half the profession would be gone. As sad as that is, I know I'm like making a joke. DUIs are horrible. I don't have one. I don't know anyone who has one, but right, like that's an ongoing joke because typically too, in this field, lawyers, like my very first day of law school, I remember they told us, hey, congrats, you're part of the 0.0001% of the entire world who's going to be an attorney, practicing attorney. You're also the number one field for, and then the next slide was like alcoholism, drug addiction, anxiety, depression, suicide, divorce, every terrible thing you can think of, because this job is very difficult, and also keeping attorney-client privilege can be extremely, extremely hard to have weighed on your conscience and on your body, on your cuerpo. But for purposes of the moral character application, okay, the bar, at least I was told, at least with the California bar, what the bar considers poor for purposes of moral character is not necessarily the same as what society would see as poor, right? It's not so much that you made mistakes, it's whether or not those mistakes translate to dishonesty. Because lawyers, even though there are a bunch of lawyer jokes, haha, reputation for being liars, okay? We actually can't be. Like, we literally can't be, okay? Of course, we craft a case for our clients that ensures that their secrets are kept, et cetera, whatever, okay? But in terms of candor to the court and being honest in our representations and having integrity when it comes to at least, the arguments that we make or the cases that we cite. Like, we are obviously paid to, and we have to make arguments that we know we're going to lose, that we know aren't great, but they're our only option. That doesn't mean you're dishonest, right? It just means you're put between a rock and a hard place and you got to do the best thing for your client, right? If you have something in your past that shows that you're a liar or a cheater, that has literally forced people to not, they've just been rejected. They can't practice law, who have gone through all of the hell in a handbasket of 3 years of law school and taking the bar exam, studying for it, taking the bar exam, waiting for the results. They do the moral character application, and quite literally the bar has called, their fucking high school, and their high school is like, oh yeah, in their file, they cheated on a test, or they stole the teacher's, graded portion of the test, their grading key, and then they photocopied it and gave it to everybody. They didn't get admitted to the bar because that is seen as something that's dishonest. People have tried to sue over it, and every single time the court's like, nope, these are the things. It's a finite list of character traits that the bar deems relevant and important to being able to practice law. Okay, so once you're admitted to the bar, right, it doesn't end there. You have to continuously do CLE, continuing legal education classes. You have to uphold all of the ethics rules that you are bound by, or else you can be suspended, your license can be revoked, you can be in trouble with the bar, disciplinary decision. This shit is ongoing. There is something called in California, it could be called different things in different states, called the state bar court. Okay, where if you have a disciplinary action filed against you, you might have to answer to them. Okay, and then they could, issue a written opinion sometimes on what you did and why they feel that it was a violation of these certain rules or whatever, and then why, your license is suspended, or sometimes you just have little punishment, slaps on the wrist type of thing, okay? You would think that the ethics decisions are always going to be pretty boring sometimes, sometimes it's malpractice type of stuff. Sometimes it's kind of inadvertent. Sometimes it's a lawyer's conduct in court or conduct toward opposing counsel, or maybe even their client. A lot of lawyers do their clients very dirty in ways that they're not supposed to. But sometimes you get cases of lawyer misconduct that genuinely make you question me specifically, why I am in the same camp as these people. Because sometimes lawyers, yes, we all have to be insane, but some of them are a flavor of insane that I fear I don't ever want to reach, and I'm very terrified of. This is a real headline I'm about to read to you. No, I'm not joking. Attorney suspended for pooping in a Pringles can, throwing it in a victim advocate's parking lot, opened. Let's start there. But the kicker here is not only that he pooped in a Pringles can with the lid not on it, tossed it into a victim's advocate parking lot, but that this wasn't the first time he'd done it. In fact, he had actually done this on at least 10 other occasions in the parking lot of the offices of his opposition. So opposing counsel maybe, or witnesses who were going to testify against his client in the trial in which he was representing his client. This was something that he did. He claimed to blow off steam. Now, in the age of mental health, of taking care of yourself, of self-care, I do support the maybe stranger ways in which we can relax and we can really take off the pressure of attorney-client privilege and the stress of this job. Trust me, I get it. But sweet and gentle Jesus, what are we doing here? My colleagues, my lawyers. This man was admitted to the bar in 1976. James Blakeslee is a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran who has been practicing law for over 50 years. And only in the last year, he had been discovered to have shit in Pringles cans and thrown them in parking lots. I am riddled with fear and want to take a shower. How many Pringles cans have fallen victim to James Blakeslee since 1976? How many snack good receptacles have been used for horror? Where was the act taking place, the prep, if you will, pre-Pringles can being filled? Is this man married? And if so, have we checked on her? We're going to start there. We're going to start there, okay? Incredible. You know, if I could have a conversation with my boy James, my colleague, okay? These are the people that I'm rocking with, okay? Do you understand why I am with the way I am here? All right? Thank you. Thanks. If I could have a conversation with my boy James, I would simply tell him, hey, hey, I get it. I get it. I get it. I feel as though we're taking the role of advocate a little too far. Throwing his poop-filled Pringles cans, again, no lid. I think it's a very important fact here. Are those your ops? Kind of, but like the point of being an advocate and representing your client, right, is for sure to be their talking head, okay? Everything I say is as if they said it, okay, but so much smarter and better and cuter, right? For sure. But I feel as though, James, I fear, don't touch me. Get away from me. I'm gonna have a wet one ready. I fear that you are taking it a little too far by being an advocate for everything your own client might have done as well, right? If your client wants to do crazy shit, you shouldn't say, well, I have to take up this duty and take up this mantle. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, right? You can be an advocate for your client and not have to do mental warfare, the likes of which we've never seen before. Though I do love a creative argument. Right. The lawyer's defense to this, our 75-year-old Vietnam veteran lawyer defense to this, was that he didn't target anyone. It wasn't like he was targeting the victim's advocate parking lot, okay? He just had a habit of putting his poop in Pringles cans and randomly throwing them from his car. That was his defense. I'm not putting flair on that, quote unquote. He claimed he pulled the Pringles prank at least 10 times that year that he was willing to admit to on the record that we know of, okay? And he's claiming it was random. But the ethics court didn't buy it, okay? They didn't buy it. The court said in an opinion that it was clear this attorney purposely chose the Haven of Hope, the Victims Advocate Center, that was the name, Haven of Hope, in Cambridge, Ohio, as his, quote, drop zone. Surveillance video captured the incident in November 2021. Drop zone. His Pringles poop can drop zone. This is a criminal defense attorney who's been doing this for years and years and years, over 50 years. These are my colleagues. James Blakeslee, had known the victims' advocates at the center for years and was scheduled to see them in court 15 minutes after the Pringles deposit. That's what we're calling it in the court opinion, the deposit. At the time, he was representing someone accused in a capital murder case, okay? And the victim's advocate, someone from there, was going to testify against his client in trial. Mind you, he has no prior disciplinary action against him. He's been practicing law since 1976. That was when he was admitted to the bar. The Victims Advocacy Center, which is called Haven of Hope, mind you, their executive director had attended hearings in a murder case in which Blakeslee represented the defendant. She was due to attend a pretrial hearing November 30th, 2021, the date that she saw Blakeslee toss the Pringles can outside his car window into the parking lot of the Haven of Hope Victims Advocacy Center in Cambridge, Ohio. It's not funny. Don't laugh. I'm trying not to. Blakeslee pled guilty to misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and littering for the offense and paid fines and court costs of $248. But in the ethics case against him, okay, because you being criminally liable for something is different than you having an ethics complaint against you and having it disrupt or affect your law license, okay? Typically, one thing comes before the other, right? So separate hearings on just the poop in a Pringles can gate, okay? In the ethics case against him, Blakeslee stipulated, meaning he admitted and agreed to the fact that he had engaged in conduct, quote, adversely reflecting on a lawyer's fitness to practice law. I don't think we can argue with that, but whom's to I? Blakeslee, though, had sought simply a public reprimand, which can also be a type of discipline that's admonished against you, okay, as an attorney. Sometimes you're just told that you ain't shit in a court pleading on file, and like that's your punishment. So that's what he wanted. He didn't want his license to be suspended or taken away. Both sides, however, acknowledged that there were few comparable cases to this one. Like, how do we deal with this, right? What's the route here? What's the course of action here? What's the plan for this ethics court to have to deal with this? One of the cases cited involved a lawyer caught driving while naked. Another involved a lawyer who wrote a client refund check routed through the Oklahoma Bar Association during a disciplinary investigation that was soiled with feces. What's up with us? What's our deal here, lawyers in Ohio, with poop on the brain and poop in practice? I am concerned and scared and disinfected. Blakeslee testified in his disciplinary hearing that he had engaged in similar misconduct on at least 10 other occasions, and that he randomly chose the locations, randomly. He specifically denied knowing that he had tossed the can into the parking lot of Haven of Hope, and he said it was just a Pringles prank that he did at least 10 times per year and was stupid. I'm going to leave that right there for you all. The Ohio Supreme Court did not think that the parking lot incident was random. They were not convinced. Okay, why, you may ask? Because he had done this so many other times and had always targeted his oppositions. They called it his ops, the witnesses who were going to testify against his clients at the time in trial. Quote, although Blakeslee testified that he randomly selected all the locations in which he deposited his feces-filled cans, the circumstantial evidence in the record weighs heavily against his testimony that he randomly chose the Haven of Hope parking lot as his drop zone. Blakeslee knew everyone at Haven of Hope, and he knew the victim's advocate in his murder case for 20 years, he had testified. This is what catches me off guard, okay, a little bit about his defense that's not looking very good. I think some men for sure should have started out in prison and worked their way out. I think this might be one of those times, lawyer specific, where maybe we should start looking in the backs of everyone's trunks for some Pringles can hoarding. I don't know. So is he eat the Pringles? What flavor are we talking? Why the opened lid? Because when you toss it, right, don't you think some of it could come out? There are a lot of logistics here that I'm trying to be very mature and very legal about. Like if I were talking about this in the courtroom, well, Your Honor, it doesn't make sense that he didn't have the lid on it because obviously on his backswing, some of the shit could come out and then the full effect isn't going to be realized. So realistically, the prosecution's theory that he was shitting, squatting over this tiny ass Pringles can. Also, this man has some major IBS issues. There's just no way that he'd be able to have time to open up the Pringles can, find a safe place to go, to put in the Pringles can, and toss that baby. And also, you know, he doesn't have a great arm, all right? He'd never played football in high school, all right? He's always had a weird shoulder issue. Your Honor, the distance between his car and where that shit landed, it just doesn't track, all right? This man is so unathletic, it's actually embarrassing for me to be in the same room with him. I'm trying to be like that right now, right? It's very difficult, but I hope that you guys are appreciating it, at least my effort, okay? I'm not trying to rationalize this. Of course, this man is a few sandwiches short of a picnic, but I'd like to think that a successful criminal defense attorney would at least have some kind of plan to, if he were caught, have some excuses on hand other than just it was a prank and I blew off steam, okay? Because you're about to get your head blown off by some people who I think, you know, it's great that you chose victims advocate centers to throw these cans of fucking shit Pringles in, because I think in some other neighborhoods, for sure, if you had done that and someone had seen it, they would be on the local news, not you, them, for what they did to you, because that is crazy town. That's beyond words. I digress. He didn't just stop on his way to the courthouse on a sidetrack, chuck the Pringles can, and keep on moving. He had to drive 20 minutes with the poop-filled can in the car before tossing it outside Haven of Hope. And he slowed his car down the first time that he reached the parking lot, turned it around, and made another pass past the lot as he tossed the can out. Did he, I have questions. The can was thrown without a lid. Was he driving with it without a lid? Where were you shitting in a Pringles can? Why is this funny? This man was working harder than a funeral home fan in July to make this prank work. Quote, "We acknowledge that Blakeslee does not appear to have harbored any animosity toward the victim's advocate in his murder case, her colleagues, or their work as victims' advocates," the state Supreme Court said. Let's put a cork in that for a minute, because I have some appearances and evidence that he does, in fact, harbor and dock and boat some animosity for these people. Why, you may ask? Exhibit fucking P. Apparently the state Supreme Court was like, listen, it's not really animosity. It's just, we just think he's fucking weird, which I totally understand the fucking weird defense, but like prison time. While the record demonstrates that Blakeslee regrets his misconduct, it also shows that he lacks sufficient insight into the origin of and motivation for his inappropriate behavior to effectuate positive change, end quote. In mitigation, Blakeslee had no other discipline during a distinguished criminal defense trial practice for more than 4 decades. He had never been disciplined before by the bar. Ever. He'd never done anything else, meaning that he only never did anything else to get caught, right? He never got caught doing anything else. How many Pringles cans have fallen victim? The Ohio Supreme Court's conclusion was this. They found that Jack A. Blakeslee engaged in conduct that adversely reflects on his fitness to practice law. Blakeslee claimed he was not targeting anyone with his antics, but had a habit of placing his poop in Pringles cans unopened and throwing them from his car as he traveled down the road, as one does. The court found that there was clear and convincing yoga, meditation, happy hour martinis, poop-filled Pringles can. It's on the list, like your Wellness Wednesdays. It's on the list. The court found that there was clear and convincing evidence that he chose the Haven of Hope parking lot as his drop zone to get a thrill from pranking victim advocates whom he admittedly had known for years and whom he would most likely be seeing in court 15 minutes later, which is crazy town to me, because you did this knowing that you're doing it to people, person specifically, like the woman, the victim's advocate, like saw him throw the fucking shit-filled Pringles can, and she had to be at court in 15 minutes, and she was like, period, and pulled up to court, and like he's like, afternoon. And this also, it wasn't afternoon. This was a morning activity, mind you. He did this like first thing in the morning. He drove his car 20 minutes out of his way to this victim advocate center with a shit-filled Pringles can in his car to throw at this woman. He knew he was going to see this woman. And I know that that's an element of it. And I know that that's like a very, if you look into crimes that people do in relation to flashing, or like men who, pardon my French, touch themselves in public in front of women, it's horrifying and it is a fucking crime, okay? The reason for it has to do with the reaction and the disgust and the horror and the power that they feel that they wield over the victim. So like now we're getting into, I think, a realm where absolutely this man should not be practicing law. I mean, like, whomst am I? But like, I think I'm someone enough. This has undertones of very seedy, very psychotic behavior. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just not a prank girl. Okay. But this feels like way more than a fucking prank, if you ask me. If everyone's worried and we all want to have discourse about the fact that this man is a predator, like this is crazy. He's 75 years old. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's done. Like, let's just wait him out. Honest to God, as sad as that sounds, but Lord, why is he practicing law at 75? See, this is why our profession's also insane. We literally let people practice law until they drop dead in their chairs, and not a moment before. We're all workaholics and we all need to be admitted to a mental institution for sure, for so many different reasons. We're all a different flavor of insane, but I hope that I would be ending up on the mental hospital floor flavor of insane, different than this motherfucker, right? Like, I hope I'm on the floor with some other like chatty Cathy attitude sassy bitches with some rage under their skin, as opposed to shit-filled Steve over here chucking me in the face like I'm having to dodge Pringles cans in the fucking cafeteria. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with that, okay? So let's put that on the record now. If for whatever reason I lose my fucking mind, good Lord, put me on a different wing than our boy Jack Blakeslee here. fuck? The court's opinion, however, the Ohio Supreme Court's opinion, noted that the primary purpose of attorney discipline is not to punish the offender, but to protect the public. The court found a greater sanction was needed to protect the public. Agreed. Protect us, please. What the fuck? Quote, however, the evidence in this case shows that despite societal standards of cleanliness and decorum, Blakeslee failed to control his own bizarre impulses to place poop-filled cans out in public for unsuspecting people to find. His abhorrent conduct has adversely reflected on his own fitness to practice law and brought discredit to the profession through significant media attention. Blakeslee has been a criminal defense attorney for more than 40 years and has no prior record of attorney discipline. He testified that he is a Vietnam veteran and received psychological treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder related to his military service and as a victim of child abuse. In June 2021, Blakeslee was appointed by the Guernsey County Common Pleas Court to represent Alexander Wells. Wells was indicted for various offenses, including aggravated murder of a victim under age 13, which made Wells subject to the death penalty. Michelle Carpenter Wilkinson is the chief executive officer of Haven of Hope, a victim advocacy center. She had known Blakeslee for years, and the two were friends on Facebook. Wilkinson attended Wells's arraignment and several additional court proceedings in Wells's case between June and September 2021. In November 2021, a pretrial hearing was scheduled for Wells at 8:30 a.m. Before leaving his home in Coal Ridge, about 20 minutes from Cambridge, Blakeslee pooped into an empty Pringles can. He then drove with the Pringles can with poop in his car to downtown Cambridge. Between 8:10 and 8:15 a.m., Blakeslee turned his vehicle down an alley near the courthouse where the Haven of Hope parking lot is located. A sign on the building at the alley's entrance read, quote, Haven of Hope Administrative Offices, and had an arrow pointing down the alley. Surveillance video showed Blakeslee slowing his vehicle as he passed the Haven of Hope parking lot and continued further down the alley. He then passed several parking lots before turning around and slowly passing the Haven of Hope lot a second time. The video shows him throwing the Pringles can without a lid, lidless, into the lot and driving to the courthouse for the 8:30 a.m. pretrial hearing. Wilkinson saw Blakeslee throw the can out of his car and discovered the can with his waist. She then left for the courthouse to attend the pretrial hearing for Wells. Later that day, she discussed the matter with the prosecutor assigned to Wells's case and filed a report with the Cambridge Police Department. I would love to know at this juncture, and I know this might be getting into the weeds a bit, but how in the fuck was she, like, if I saw someone throwing something, especially victims advocate parking lot, right, out of their car, literally the attorney on the case, okay, hi, like I've known you for 20 years, threw something, okay, out of his car in the lot. Of course, I'm going to kind of check to see what it is. Something very bad, you know? I'm sure they have a lot of security for a reason, okay? Like people try to attack like victims advocates often, which is horrifying. But like, at what point did she like discern for sure this is his shit? And also, right, thank God for the camera, because I'm hoping we didn't have to like grab a sample. Like I'm hoping there wasn't like, oh, let's preserve the evidence, throw a glove on and put it in a bag. I hope that we were able to just let it lie, let it rest. I hope she didn't have to investigate further. I hope she just made the call that it was his shit in a can and she ended up being right. To be fucking real. At 8:30 a.m. in the morning, before 8:30, because the hearing was at 8:30. Imagine this at 8 a.m. I'd quit on the fucking spot. I'm sorry. Pardon me. I ain't getting paid enough for this. I'm probably not even paid at all. Victims advocate, maybe she's doing this on her fucking off time. You know what I mean? Just out of the kindness of her fucking heart. I'm fucking sorry. I would have snatched you bald-headed. Throwing cans of shit at me, that is where I start throwing hands. That is where my kindness and goodness and peace and love goes out the fucking window. As an attorney, I am not advocating for violence or for anyone to break the law. Please don't do that. This is not legal advice. As the disclaimer on this podcast says, use your fucking brains. Thank you. Blakeslee denied targeting Carpenter Wilkinson or the Haven of Hope staff with his actions. He admitted throwing Pringles cans filled with his poop from his vehicle on at least 10 occasions in a variety of locations that year. What is Kamala Harris's plan for getting rid of the serial Pringles pooper? What is her game plan? I want to hear. I want to hear debates. I want to hear policy points. I want to hear perspectives. Because this is the safety that I'm concerned about. There's no scare at the border, all right? The fentanyl that comes into this country is 98% actually coming in from American citizens who are often white people, okay? Yep, read the numbers, look it up. It's not coming from illegal immigrants. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about, yes, our American citizens doing that, but trying to blame it on people at the border is not helpful. Okay, it's not helpful. I think we should stop blaming people at the border for shit that our citizens do and start figuring out what our policy plan is for the Pringles poopers. Because this can't be the only one, I'm sorry. Blakeslee described his actions as pranks, admitted that it was stupid, and that he was embarrassed by the public revelation of his conduct and media attention. Blakeslee claimed he had no intention of throwing that thing in Cambridge and did not pick a spot but just happened to be on the way down the alley. He said he routinely disposed of the cans while on the way to work because they gave him a thrill. Blakeslee explained that he threw the cans to, quote, blow off steam, and that he got a kick out of imagining the look of surprise on the faces of those who found the Pringles cans. Prison time. How do we feel? Blakeslee did not, and listen, okay, prison abolitionists, like definitely prison reform for sure. Don't get it twisted, but sometimes I just have to say prison to make myself feel better about a situation. Thank you. Blakeslee did not attempt to establish that he had a mental disorder to mitigate any sanction he might face and denied his actions were related to his PTSD. Mind you, he's 75 years old. Just gonna put that in your brain again. He agreed his behavior was not normal and stated, quote, there has to be something going on that's related to some of the things I went through in early life. The disciplinary council argued that Blakeslee targeted the Haven of Hope. I would agree. The video supported the claim showing Blakeslee passing the lot, circling back to toss the can, then quickly pulling away. The disciplinary council recommended that Blakeslee receive a 6-month, fully stayed suspension with the condition that he commit no further misconduct. The court's opinion stated that there are few comparable cases of other lawyers sanctioned for similar behavior to use as a basis for selecting the appropriate discipline for Blakeslee. The opinion noted that Blakeslee knew Carpenter Wilkinson for nearly 20 years and had represented her daughter in a legal matter. He also knew she was regularly attending the Wells proceeding as a victim's advocate and that he most certainly expected to see her or a staff member at the hearing shortly after he tossed the can. The court used 2 cases of attorneys engaged in acts of indecent exposure to determine a sanction for Blakeslee. In the cases of the 2 other lawyers, the targets of their actions were unknown strangers and incidents unrelated to their legal work. In this case, the court noted that Blakeslee targeted people involved in his professional life, which is crazy. That's the part that is not emphasized enough. Lawyers can absolutely be disciplined by the bar for things that they do unrelated to their legal work. That's what people don't understand. There are certain things that you can do that can absolutely reflect adversely on your ability to practice law in a way that upholds the standard of the profession and maintains the integrity of it, okay? The little that we have. In this case, it was literally related, literally witness intimidation. The court, however, somehow found that Blakeslee's can throw was not an act of hostility or an attempt to intimidate the victim advocates. However, the court wrote that while his past flings, they're calling it flings. They're calling it waist flings. His past waist flings were intended to invoke surprise by persons unknown to him who would find the cans. This incident demonstrated, quote, he escalated a pre-existing pattern of conduct to seek an even greater thrill by pulling a prank on someone he knew. He expressed genuine remorse and testified that he is no longer engaging in such conduct. How do we know that? The ultimate decision by the Ohio Supreme Court was that lawyer Jack Allen Blakeslee of Caldwell, Ohio, was suspended for 1 year, his license, okay, with 6 months stayed on the condition that he engage in no further misconduct. This was back in November of 2023. What is the update? After throwing an uncovered poop-filled Pringles can into the parking lot of a victims advocate center once, on which he was caught on film, but at least 10 times prior per year, he said that he did this to blow off steam. His license was suspended and then reinstated after the fact. As of June 2024, this is the headline, Ohio attorney suspended over pooping in a Pringles can has license reinstated. Yep. He's practicing law. Jack Blakeslee of Noble County, Ohio, finished serving his 6-month sanction that the Ohio Supreme Court imposed in November. The court said Tuesday that Blakeslee had complied with the conditions, including no further misconduct, to get his license back. Blakeslee, an attorney since 1976, has no other discipline on his record, and he still practicing law. Do with that what you will. I mean, what can I say? You know what I mean? Who am I to judge? I don't judge people for much. To be honest, I mean, of course, I judge people for things that reflect poorly on their actual character. But I do think that people get a lot of stuff tangled, actions that they view as bad with someone's actual character. I mean, you've never lived in someone's shoes. You don't understand all the things that go on in their life or the reasons for why they did what they did. But I will say that the legal profession is extremely forgiving to its attorneys. And whatever you say about this, whether it was just some, really weird thing that he was diving into and letting himself do, like a vice, okay? Pooping in a Pringles can and throwing it at people, prank to blow off some steam. If they think that your ability to practice law is not hindered, then you are good to go, baby, apparently. So shout out to my colleague, James Blakeslee. My rebuttal for today's episode is that if you want to be an attorney, make sure that if you throw a Pringles can full of poop in the parking lot of a victims advocacy center, you just make sure that they don't have security cameras. And if they do have security cameras and you do get caught, just totally say that it was a 10-time thing and maybe you'll get your license back. That was a terrible rebuttal. Worst rebuttal I've ever had. But listen, okay? I'm tired. I can't do the shame. I'm like, you know what I mean? Come on now. Like, the jokes write themselves. I have nothing. The fact, this was a bit of a rogue choice. That's my rebuttal. This was a bit of a rogue fucking choice. Love you. See you next time. Sorry for ruining your morning. Subscribe, like, comment, follow us on Instagram, follow me everywhere. And the tomfoolery will continue. Love you.